Hello there, and welcome to Fixing the Sequel Trilogy, the Writers' Room podcast dedicated to fixing the Star Wars sequels. This week, we are bringing you part 1 of Fixing The Force Awakens. If you're new to the show, consider listening to some of our older episodes, as we have drastically changed a large amount of context and canon introduced in the sequels and the Mandoverse. In a moment, I'll do a brief recap of those changes, but for now, I'm Bryce Quinn, and I'm joined by my writing co-pilot, Carmelo Keating.
Oh, hey man, how you doing?
I'm pretty good, how are you?
Very good. I appreciated that one. That was nice.
Yeah. I'm also joined by our editor and whipmaster, Sandro Karayan.
Editor and
Whipmaster.
already.
Context for that,
This is not a BDSM podcast.
Are we sure about that?
This is a podcast where Sandro makes sure that me and Mello do our jobs. Get the
Oh,
work done
I
on
getcha.
time.
Bryce, would you believe it? After
Would I believe what?
24 weeks.
24 weeks?
24 weeks of talk or episodes.
I guess that's how many episodes we're on. Yeah, that makes
about
sense.
talking about random Star Wars things. For the very first time, we're finally going to read actual treatment content to the audience.
I personally have been avoiding it. I've been putting it off because the second we put it out there, it's out there forever and we can't take it back. But yeah, no, as you say, after months and months of world building, character analysis, pitching, head bashing, and shouting matches, because we shout at each other.
We do,
all the
absolutely.
time.
We shout at each other.
We have finally arrived at part 1 of Fixing the Force Awakens. But where is our story starting? What has happened in the years following the Return of the Jedi, the death of Palpatine, and the forming of the New Republic? So we've spent a lot of time diving into that stuff. I'd say like a bulk of our time actually has kind of been devoted to this world building part of everything. And I've got 2 key elements that I want to address as like our grounding for it, which are the Jedi. Luke has been training Ben Solo as well as a small group of younglings from across the galaxy on the remote planet of Arc 2. Luke fought with Han and Leia in the days after the Battle of Endor to bring down Grand Admiral Thrawn, but his best days of fighting are behind him. He is a teacher and a master now. That's Luke and Ben as we understand them as characters, and that's like to not dive too deeply into the 20 years of history there.
Yep.
And then the next element, the big thing, the New Republic. For the past 20 years, Lando Calrissian and Leia Organa have worked to bring peace and prosperity to the New Republic systems, and succeeded. Their main adversary has been the factions of Imperial remnants and the crime underworld, who both take up large swaths of the Outer Rim territories. The biggest threat posed by these powers is the construction of Kyber lasers, which are now a known threat to galactic peace. Han Solo and Chewbacca have dedicated much of the past 20 years to hunting down those involved in the secret construction of these weapons and destroying them before they can be used.
Yep.
So,
I'm in agreement with most of that. A lot of that, or so some of that is context for your...
yeah, I wanted to
your
try and
stuff?
keep that like pretty neutral.
But, yeah.
I don't know how much of that you wanted to change for your beat sheet because I don't know what you've written.
Like
Mello.
75%
Yeah.
of mine is there.
I could have, dived more into it, but that's like the basic gist of everything we've covered up until this point in terms of resetting the Mandoverse, decanonizing it for ourselves. Mandoverse is not a thing for us, and our canon encompasses the live-action films, all of them, including Solo and Rogue One, and the TV show Andor, and I'm pretty sure that is it.
Or Clone Wars as well. You know.
Oh, and Clone Wars, yes, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Clone
like
Wars.
now Rebels is thrown the wayside.
Clone Wars, yes, but Rebels, no.
Yeah.
Because, there's a lot of stuff in there that's just a little bit close to what we're trying to do here.
And Star Wars Resistance is also a no.
What? What is that?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
Never
Get the
once.
fuck away from me.
Never, no. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the context of everything here, and we're going to be doing our beat sheet. So I'll be going first and listing out the 11 beats of the Act 1 of the story. Unfortunately, yes, we only have an hour, so it's just Act 1 of the story.
And
but if you keep listening, our following up episodes will be the further Act 2 and 3.
And I'm curious if I can just get a clarification from the story masters. What do we clarify as an Act 1?
I, personally, have been following a lot of the Save the Cat story structure, which is a pretty commonly and pretty popularly used one, especially in like Hollywood movies and stuff. But that'll be taking us from the opening image in the first kind of start of our story all the way to the inciting incident, which propels our story and changes it, up until the break into Act 2. So if we're going to draw a parallel to A New Hope, that's everything from the start of the film all the way up until Luke, loses his aunt and uncle, meets Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then sets out on his journey towards Mos Eisley Cantina, where he meets Han and Chewie.
It's the point in the story where the main characters' conflicts are established. Characters can be introduced beyond that point. Yeah. But obviously your hero character should probably
you
be
introduce your hero, you introduce the
before that.
setup and all that kind of stuff, and the main driving conflict of the story, etc., etc.
Lovely.
That's Act 1. Thank you for asking that, Sandro. I forgot to put that in. I didn't think. I was like, oh,
I thought it would be good. Have some context.
Good point. But yeah, I'm using Save the Cat. I don't know if you've been inspired by anything, Mello, like story structure wise, or if you just flying by the seat of your pants.
Star Wars.
Star Wars,
I don't know,
baby.
just storytelling.
Yeah.
Just I don't follow structures per se.
Yeah.
Just what the story commands.
So enough flim-flamming around. I've been putting this off for so long because I'm just terrified of putting anything out into the world.
Go on, Bryce.
Let's
Tell
get
the
into it.
universe your
So
Star
you're
Wars
gonna tell
ideas.
us once you finish each beat.
So it'll be pretty clear. I've got 11 beats here, and once I've read them out, it'll be like pretty clear. Like that's the first beat, and let's go into it. A beat sheet, for anyone who's not familiar, is just like a list of things that happen in pretty short form. It's like the stage before you get to a treatment, and then treatment leads to script.
Just very basic events.
Yeah, very very basic event descriptions.
Lovely.
So the first beat of my beat sheet for Act 1 of The Force Awakens. Han and Chewie work with FN-2187, a runaway First Order trooper, to infiltrate a Death Star weapon and destroy it before it can be used. Phasma, who is revealed to have been leaking false information, springs a trap on them, catching Han and Chewie. FN-2187 escapes. That is the opening thing of our story. That's what sets it all off.
Yeah, cool.
And so that's the first beat, and now we can discuss.
Cool. Worth noting that. So you've kept, the First Order are an Imperial remnant.
Yep.
Phasma is leader of that.
Yep.
FN-2187 is a trooper of that. And when you say Death Star weapon, you mean like a piece of technology, but not.
So, Kyber laser.
Yeah.
A laser that is powered by a Kyber crystal that has immense destructive potential, not on the scale of the Death Star.
Yep. Cool.
This is interesting. So FN-2187, Finn,
Yes, Finn.
is already a deserter by the start of your script.
So that's yeah. I think this is one of the weaknesses of my pitch. So Finn starts out deserting Phasma, but still believing in the Empire. He sees Phasma's vision of like destruction of the galaxy and doesn't believe in it.
Gotcha.
And he wants to desert and go to a different Imperial faction. That's kind of that's where he starts the story.
Righty.
So he's trying to get to a different Imperial faction. He still believes in the Empire, but not in Phasma.
And you say Finn escapes, but Han and Chewie
Yes.
otherwise do not.
Yeah, Han and Chewie are stuck in prison. They are trapped by Phasma on her ship or something like that. I haven't ironed out the details. It's pretty loosey-goosey. But yeah, and then Finn manages to escape somehow and get away.
Lovely. Like, it's the first beat, so I can't really ask any questions.
They get more complicated as we go on.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, okay. Beat 2. We meet Rey, a bounty hunter and scrapper who lives on a space station in the Outer Rim. She is returning from a job, getting paid poorly by Unkar Plutt, a local crime lord, before she goes off to watch some gambling and, talk to some friends, and you kind of see the world through her eyes. Life is bleak but neutral. She dreams of escape, though she knows not to where. It's kind of just like a standard setup intro character.
Right, yeah, lovely. Is she on Jakku, or is she on a different planet?
She is on a space station in space.
Yeah, right.
So no planet. Yeah, she is. She lives on a space station out of her ship. She has her own ship.
Okay, awesome. And it's sort of similar to that space station we see in like Mando's season.
Yeah.
Like Book of Boba, is it?
Book of Boba Fett. We see the Mandalorian, Din Djarin.
It's like a Halo ring. But
sort of like a Halo ring kind of
Yeah.
vibe. Yeah.
You also see one in Rogue One, built into an asteroid field.
Ah.
Like another sort of.
Where the fuck is that?
That's where Cassian does that assassination of that guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Something
right.
like that
Yeah.
along those lines. We see. Yeah. So she's living on a space station, and she has BB-8 is her pet as well. I forgot to mention that.
And she's being hired by
Pet,
Uncle
her
Plot,
droid, yeah.
and she's doing small jobs.
Yeah, she's just doing like make a living kind of jobs. She's scrapping and stuff. I'm imagining this bounty that she's bringing back at the start is literally just someone who got in her way while she was out doing scrap work, and that person happened to have a bounty on them, so she just grabbed them and handed them in for the bounty. It's just like a job of convenience almost.
Yeah, right. And she knock them out. Does she use a taser? Like, does she
Good question.
take them in cold?
I'm imagining her with blasters, so maybe like a stun, like set to stun kind of
Set
thing.
to stun. He
Yeah.
said set to stun.
He said stun. Yeah, so that's beat 2. Beat 3. Ben and Luke train on Arc 2, training younglings and with each other. Ben mentions that he wants to do his trials, his Jedi Knight trials, so he can join his father in being a hero, saving the Outer Rim from itself. Luke encourages patience and wisdom. There is clearly some friction between the two. And that's kind of the setup that we get for Luke and Ben training on Arc 2 together.
Now, roughly, how old is Ben at the time?
20.
20.
Yeah, definitively 20, yeah.
Definitively 20. I love that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, this is 20 years, almost exactly 20 years post Battle of Endor.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
And guess what? It's not a fucking total mystery what happens. Anyway, we've got some context for the intervening events.
Yeah. And he wants to become a knight. He wants to sort of rush into doing a Jedi Knight trials.
Yeah. He knows, he's well aware of what Han Solo has been doing for a long time, which is running these missions and infiltrating areas in the Outer Rim and being somewhat of a hero to the New Republic. And Ben is like, I've come here to train as a Jedi, but what I really want is to be a Jedi hero like Luke, working with my dad, Han Solo.
Yeah.
So he wants to be a Jedi Knight, and he's rushing towards that goal.
Yeah. Awesome.
Beat 5? I should have numbered these. Shit. Leia and Lando chat amongst the cream of society at a gala of some kind. We'll figure the details out later. Senator Hux is there, but his stance on kyber lasers is unpopular. He's very much pro-building kyber lasers for the New Republic. And therefore, so is he. Leia quietly confides in Lando that she is worried about Han, who was supposed to report back a mission success by now. And that's kind of the whole scene.
Yeah, okay, right.
So she's waiting to hear back from Han, who has not reported back in yet. It's a mystery as to what's been going on in the Outer Rim. And yeah, Hux, I'm imagining, just kind of sulking off in the corner, trying to be like, we should build lasers. And everyone's like, you fucking nerd. We don't want to do that. That's beat 5. Beat 6. Phasma interrogates Han about FN2187, asking about his whereabouts and how Han got in touch with him. She then issues a bounty to 3 of the most proficient hunters in the galaxy. We get a cutaway to each of them, the final one revealed to currently be in Jabba's palace. Phasma gloats to Han Solo, who pleads with her not to destroy Jabba's palace, which is now run by crime lord Bib Fortuna, not
Nice.
Boba Fett.
Interesting.
I don't actually care who's running it.
Yeah.
She ignores him and fires the weapon, destroying the palace and the entire surrounding area, showing off the destructive potential and clearly destroying the head, like the biggest crime lord in the galaxy. Whether or not that is actually Jabba's palace or Bib Fortuna doesn't actually matter. Her goal is to take out the biggest crime lord.
Could be.
Could be anyone.
Bob Fortuna.
Could be Bob Fortuna.
I might just interject here because there was some chats about this off screen. I think it's the only thing that we probably haven't, only concept that we probably haven't properly discussed on screen is the destructibility and the
power
of a kyber-powered weapon.
So this kyber laser, this potential that it has, can take out cities and space stations and other ships, but not entire planets.
Yeah, and not so much to the extent of like the test firing in Rogue One.
Yeah, so the test firing on Jeddah still basically destroyed a huge chunk of that planet. Nowhere near the destructive potential of that. They're building downscaled weapons because it's so much resources to build a full Death Star weapon, you know?
Yeah. And where are you going to find the kyber?
Where are you going to find the kyber crystals, man? It's hard to find. So,
Okay.
I've lost track of which beat this is. I'm just
Sorry.
I don't know if you need to go with the numbers.
I'm
Maybe
going to skip the numbers. It's
They
fine.
just did the firing on Jabba's palace.
They did the firing of Jabba's palace, but that is our inciting incident. That is what kicks off the rest of the story. And we immediately cut to Luke, who senses the destruction across the galaxy and senses that Han is in trouble. He reluctantly tells Ben what just happened, but urges him to not rush into things. Luke is being, honest and truthful here and hoping that Ben will do the right thing. Luke pleads for Ben's patience, as Lor San Tekka, who is a Jedi acolyte who works with them, is supposed to arrive the next day with messages from Leia on a ship, but Ben refuses to wait and leaves in Luke's old X-Wing to go and save Han. That's that beat. Getting more and more complicated as we go forward.
No, it's fun. It's fun. I think like something worth pointing out is Ben gets like the feeling that something's going wrong, but Luke doesn't quite.
I only mentioned Luke here because I'm not sure if Ben is like keyed into the Force enough to get that sense.
Gotcha.
He's still a Jedi Padawan, very much a Padawan, and very much not yet come into his own in terms of powers and that kind of thing yet. So, I'm not sure if he would sense it either. And I think the idea that Luke telling him all of this thing and being honest and hoping that he would do the right thing, even with all the information, and then Ben failing to do that, is more interesting for me. But
Yeah. Okay. That's excellent.
this is the next beat. Rey journeys with the plot gang to Tatooine to scavenge the destroyed palace. So this is like the whole gang goes together. They're scavengers. That's their whole thing.
Yeah.
The palace is decimated, and everyone who sees it is horrified by what they see. Rey spots a small ship towards the edge of the wreckage and investigates it, finding a dead bounty hunter inside who is holding a bounty puck. The puck is for a First Order trooper named FN2187 and is worth 1 million credits, more money than Rey can even imagine.
I like it. That's cool.
So that's Rey's kind of like personal inciting incident.
Yep.
That's kind of like, what sets her journey off individually, but still like inspired by the laser. I'm imagining some kind of action scene here. I didn't write one in to the beats, but some kind of like chase or like scavengers like fighting over the wreckage, fighting with each other kind of thing. And she has to hide maybe inside the wreckage. And she's like, oh, what's this? And she finds the bounty puck. Something like that.
Right.
Some fun little mini action scene here. Next beat. Rey heads back to the Plutt space station. She's unsure of what to do and asks her friends for advice, which include BB-8 and some of her friends who are gamblers. They suggest she head to Maz Kanata, the local bounty warden, similar to Grief Karga from The Mandalorian, someone who's like running the bounty stuff.
Yeah, I like it. I like bringing Maz Kanata in.
Yeah, so this is how I bring in Maz. She's not 1,000 years old or whatever, but she's similar in weird vibes.
Oh, she's not 1,000 years old? We don't want to make her 1,000 years old?
She's like,
No, I'd very specifically ask you, wouldn't be a Force user who was 1,000 years old?
Yeah, nah. Rey speaks to Maz, who tells her that she could sell the puck to Unkar Plutt for a politics avoidance commission of some kind, or Rey can track down the trooper. Maz is insightful and says that she doesn't think that Rey finding the puck was an accident. So just quickly, when I say politics avoidance, Unkar Plutt is super set on being neutral. Like, he doesn't want to get involved with any of the First Order stuff or the New Republic or anything, or any of the crime factions in general. He's like, we are scavengers. We pick off the offal that comes off the rest of the crime stuff.
But didn't she just take a bounty to it at the start?
Yeah, but that was just some guy,
Right.
When she presented the bounty, she was like, hey, I'm delivering this guy who's like making trouble for us or something like that. Some like really small time criminal
Okay,
stuff.
so not a bounty set out by a crime faction.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Nothing that would, stop the space station from being a neutral place.
Gotcha. Copy.
So yeah, Mars is kind of like, you can take this small amount of money from Unkar Plutt, or you could set out and try and get the million credits. But I don't think, no matter what you choose, I don't think you finding the puck was an accident. At this moment, this is the next beat, Ben Solo arrives, having tracked down Maz Kanata, who is an old contact of Han Solo's. He asks for information about Han's whereabouts, and Maz fills in both Ben and Rey about Phasma and the First Order, the group who just destroyed Jabba's palace. So she kind of fills them in about some of the world building. Exposition, you might say.
Yeah.
Ben asks Rey if she will go with him, and after hesitating, she agrees. They shake on it, and in that moment, the two share a strange connection. Maz gives them a hint, leading them to their next destination and the hunt for FN-2187.
And this is kind of like our Mos Eisley.
Yeah, this is kind of similar to the Mos Eisley scene, I guess.
Yeah, I'm feeling Mos Eisley vibes.
Yeah.
Figuring out where to go, how to get there.
Yeah.
The destination.
And you kind of get this this strange coincidence of Ben also rocking up into the scene, which I'm going to try and write to not seem like plot contrivance, because Han Solo...
He also, I had this... like, the first image that came into my head was Ben Solo, like, strutting in, like, looking around...
Yeah.
Mos Eisley Cantina.
Yeah. So I want it to seem like not that it's just random, that Ben is looking for Han, and Han has mentioned some of his contacts in the crime world and in the underworld and stuff. So Ben would be trying to reach out to those people, and I feel like maybe setting it up so that Maz Kanata is a very likely first person on that list to hit up and talk to will be some work that I have to try and do to make it believable. But that's why he goes to Maz Kanata first and tracks her down.
Yeah, right.
And so that brings them all together. Rey is looking for Finn for the bounty. Ben is looking for Finn because Finn knows where Han is. And so they have a common cause and they join together. And then we get the very first hint towards the dyad in the Force as well.
Yes.
And Rey having Force powers. Now, second to last beat. Leia and Lando join an emergency Senate meeting in which Hux demands the construction of a New Republic Kyber laser for defense against this new threat. In regards to the Phasma firing the weapon on Tatooine. Leia calls for a rescue crew to save Han Solo and his team, as well as a new infiltration team to destroy this weapon. Hux and the Senate state that the capabilities of this new weapon are unknown, and they could be dooming the entire fleet through a direct confrontation. Leia calls for a parliamentary debate to settle the dispute, and Hux agrees, buying Leia some time. That's kind of everything that happens there. Having a big argument in the Senate, and then Leia calls for a debate. So like an official kind of debate setting later on in the story, giving us some time to figure things out and get in touch with Luke and other characters. Final beat. Lor San Tekka returns to Arc 2, bearing news from the Senate. Lor stays to take care of the younglings, while Luke departs for Hosnian Prime and the rest of the story. And that is our break into Act 2 as we journey towards the fun and games section, which is my favorite part of any story, and the Save the Cat beat sheet.
And that ends with Luke also heading off to look for Han.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
So he gets in Lor San Tekka's transport, which they use to ferry cargo and supplies and that kind of thing to and from the Jedi Temple on Arc 2.
He doesn't have an X-Wing?
Well, no. Ben took the X-Wing earlier.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So Ben's taking the X-Wing, which is a solo... That's only got one seat, right, Mello?
Yep.
Yep, just check.
Yep.
I thought so.
Solo. Has he also taken R2?
I was thinking
Surely.
no. I was thinking R2 maybe stays with Luke in this version.
Gotcha.
Just because, like, Ben's being such a little piece of shit at the start, I don't feel like maybe R2 would go with him. He's still Luke's droid, you know?
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, lovely.
So that's the beat sheet. Dear audience, dear listeners, I hope you enjoyed. It's not maybe the prettiest thing. It's not maybe the most well put together thing, but I'm pretty happy with it as the first thing to officially release from me as a writer to you as the audience.
Yeah. My first initial thoughts and initial statements on things that felt maybe the slightest bit rocky to me are obviously Leia's a legacy character. We want to have her relevant within the story and have her doing something. It's just making it and keeping it interesting.
Yeah.
That second to last beat with her in the conference, I know it sets up a point later in the plot.
Yeah.
But we're doing that thing where it feels like a time where in A New Hope you'd be cutting to Vader in the Death Star or Tarkin in the Death Star.
Yeah.
Whereas we're cutting to her in the Senate, and how interesting is that going to be?
That's a good point. And yeah, making the Senate stuff interesting is something I'm gonna struggle with, just because I think they struggled with it in the prequels as well.
Oh,
Same
absolutely,
reason.
yeah.
It's why it's avoided in the original trilogy. That shit can get boring and stale real quick, you know. So it'll be tricky.
Yeah, no, I think it's important for like showing that cause because like obviously you're going for that Cold War kind of feeling of these weapons exist, but
these weapons exist, and the debate
we're
of
afraid to make them. Should we be making
the
them?
debate of making them, and like who is making them, and how many exist out there, and the question and the mystery and the terror behind it all, I think is something that's really powerful and very easy to relate to, I guess, as an audience.
Absolutely, and if we could just like maybe dash back to something I brought up in your first beat, that was maybe my only other thing was the question of Finn.
Yeah,
Finn doesn't seem to show up any other time here.
No, he does not.
In your first beat sheet.
No,
I think is good because you'd be jumping between 4 different plot lines, really, and then converging into 3. But you'd be jumping between 4, like Finn, Rey, Luke.
The next time I want Finn to rock up is when Rey and Ben catch up to him. Is kind of where he's going to see him
I
next.
feel like that makes sense, definitely. But the idea of him already sort of being a deserter, like it still feels like kind of loosey-goosey on me. Just the idea that like, you know, we've talked about him being so hard, like indoctrinated into the cause, but then he's not able to follow through with like Phasma's idea of destruction,
the entire Hosnian system. I didn't get to really dive into that, but
I guess it's
Maz Kanata
understandable.
reveals that, or part of that, to Rey and Ben. Is like, oh, she's like out to destroy, like scorched earth kind of policy kind of thing.
Yeah,
destroy Hosnian Prime.
And it's understandable. Like I'm sure like people put in that situation would probably desert because of that.
Yeah.
But then for him to still like really hold on to those true imperial ideals, becomes a bit harder to believe.
That's fair.
That would be my only criticism. Yeah.
All right. Now, you got any notes before we jump into yours?
I don't think anything like out of what I've already said about it in terms of like questions around how powerful the weapon is.
Yeah.
So in this one, you've got one of the 3 bounty hunters that she sent the thing out to.
Yeah.
Was at Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
And then was just killed by that same laser.
So she doesn't know that bounty hunter's on Jabba's palace,
Right.
but it is fucking weird.
It is funny. I feel like you can get away with like just being like, oh, I've sent my bounty out. We don't need to cut to individually all 3 bounty hunters.
You make a good point. It's just something that Mello brought up previously is the idea that like how it would be so jarring to know that like the bounties get sent out and then one of them happens to be at Jabba's palace in the destruction. So finding a way to believably show that, I think, is important.
You just find out once she like runs hides and then she finds the puck. Like
Yeah.
it'd be like, oh, I guess it got sent out to Jabba's palace as well because the puck's right here.
Yeah.
Like, do you need to show like the
Maybe
guy's
not.
story?
Maybe
the
not.
guy's
I don't
story
know.
before he dies.
That was I chucked that scene in as a reaction to you guys just like talking about it. So I don't even know what the right way to go is there. So
Yeah, that's fair.
that's
as
something
well.
definitely to work on later.
Such a minor nitpick though. No, I really
No,
liked it.
you're chilling.
That was like really fun. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Shall we?
Yeah. Okay.
You've got half an hour-ish.
I got half an
How
hour.
are your
I can do it.
beats comparatively to Bryce? Because Bryce had like Act 1 broken up into like 11 pieces. Where are you like broken up into? Just so I know where I can interrupt.
Similar-ish. I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
He'll cue you.
I'll just like
I'll
look
cue you on 3.
blankly for questions and feedback.
Yeah, nice.
Okay. Mellows go. This mic's gonna fall over. I'm just gonna adjust.
Not
this
yours
quickly.
as well.
Yeah, man.
Oh.
I did touch this one though. It just fell.
For those wondering where Babu Frick comes in,
He doesn't.
Unfortunately, not
this
in the
film.
first film.
No.
unfortunately not. In the
He's the
first
main
one.
character of the second one, though.
We're gonna change our main character.
Ray dies.
based on
Ray
each-
dies
yeah,
in
true.
this film, yeah.
Fuck yeah, why not? Okay. So as established in our opening crawl, Luke Skywalker has established a new Jedi Order. The Outer Rim is filled with Imperial remnants, crime syndicates. The New Republic has outlawed Death Star tech. And Leia Organa is constantly seeking to deter its resurgence through the galaxy. The Jedi have been called to an independent planet to defend against an Imperial remnant. So we begin with the Jedi, Luke and Ben, on their Star Cruiser in hyperspace. I still like the idea that they have Arc 2, but the Jedi are based, in my version, on a Star Cruiser in order to service that the purpose of them being peacekeeping nomads. They were able to, actually be active Jedi and go help throughout the galaxy. Whilst there's respect, there is lingering tension between Luke and Ben, and Luke insists their mission is to defend and defuse, not to attack. The weight of Ben's parents' legacy, his uncle's legacy, weighs very heavily on him, as does the legacy of Vader's. So yeah, there's our first act.
Yeah.
Our first beat.
So they're just like heading out to the.
They're in hyperspace. They're about to get to this planet where they're going to go, help people out. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
This distress call came in from an independent planet. They're being attacked by the First Order, an Imperial remnant who who are trying to steal valuable resources from this planet. They come out of hyperspace and are joined by a New Republic strike force led by Han and Chewie. The Jedi and New Republic eventually ward off the First Order, but not before Ben has an interaction with Captain Phasma, and not without them stealing what they came for, kyber crystals mined on this planet. Luke, Ben, Han, and Chewie, they report their mission to Leia via hologram. Leia urges Ben and Luke to pursue this further, but Luke says he cannot risk the Jedi getting into direct conflict with the First Order, especially not in their territory. Ben is frustrated that they won't do anything. He wants to fight, actively fight. There you go. Break in the beat.
Yeah,
Right.
so they are going to this planet where the First Order is attacking, stealing kyber crystals.
Yeah.
And they get into like seemingly quite a huge fight.
Yeah.
So-
Nothing crazy out of proportions, but they're there on the planet. They've kind of just here's your population around this city based around this kyber mine.
Yeah.
Enslaved essentially because we're
Feels
like
kind of big
stealing.
if like Captain Phasma is confronting
Yeah, so
a
you tell me-
person with a lightsaber.
Phasma, Han, Chewie, Luke, and Ben.
Yeah.
All rock up to this.
Yeah.
Bro, that's a huge
It's a big
fight.
fight.
It's our opener.
Yeah, no,
It's
that's
a-
a really cool opening fight though.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Mm.
I was just wrapping my head around that. And then so
How does
Phasma wins and gets away with the kyber crystals.
Pretty much.
Cool.
Yeah.
How does Phasma win? Is there like trickery involved? Is there like just a huge bomb strike involved? Like how does she escape, especially from Luke Skywalker?
From Lucy, I imagine it's the fact that like they're pretty much done by the time he gets there, and now it's just a simple matter of
Gotcha.
fact of, well, we can't stay on this planet, occupying it,
Yeah.
taking more. Time to go.
So they kind of like almost already on like we're loading the final stuff up on our way out kind of
Yeah,
thing. Does Han and Chewie get there at the same time that Luke and Ben do?
yeah, or around
Okay.
similar time that
Yeah.
one jumps out of hyperspace, one jumps out of
Or are they
hyperspace.
dogfighting in
Bit
the
of a-
sky?
Could be.
Yeah, right.
Could be. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, those details to me aren't so important. It's more the fact that these people are here and this event has transpired and the villain has got away.
Yep,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
And what specifically from this event tells Ben that he needs to be doing more?
Ben, the villain gets away.
Yeah, right.
Like
He's,
that's
like, mad.
that's not good enough.
Yeah.
You know, he would if he had the choice, he'd be like immediately chase down, not let's stay here and help the people on this planet. Are they okay? Check on them.
So that's like
well, that's the Jedi. That's
approach.
Luke's thing. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Make sure that everything's okay here now.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Warded
Continue.
off the villain. They're going to do what they do. On Hosnian Prime, the New Republic Senate, we're in the New Republic Senate. We're with Leia. She is specifically in her ministerial position, the head of anti-Death Star, stuff. As I said, she reports the mission to the Senate and demands more support to pursue the First Order, shut down their Death Star operations. They are her public enemy number one. To her, Lando's also a senator. We'll establish that. Doesn't really need much.
He was there.
Yeah, Leia is opposed by the young and charismatic Senator Hux. The Senate are not threatened by the First Order, believing they would only have minor weapons, and how could they possibly have enough resources? Leia nor her strike force can further pursue the First Order into their own territory. They're simply going to have to wait for another isolated incident to occur.
Right.
Unfortunately. So there, end of that beat.
Yeah, nice.
And so Phasma's kind of like pushing into the mid-rim?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And
But
is Hux really saying anything in this conversation, or we are just establishing that he's there?
we established that he is there to seemingly butt heads against her. If she's here presenting this information, he'd be the one to say, no, there's no threat. Calm down. Warmonger,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Making a mockery of the situation. Back in her quarters, Leia, venting to Han and Lando, demands something be done. They must put out a call for information. That's a very small bit.
Yep.
We'll jump to the next bit. We see a day in the life of the jack-of-all-trades criminal, Rey. She lives in a space station city, alone, no friends, no community. It's a harsh life. We follow Rey as she competes with other bounty hunters to apprehend a man. She puts up a decent fight despite her smaller stature. She's agile, she's quick. A few allusions to some level of force sensitivity there.
Yep.
Nothing crazy, just like...
The same way Anakin is like really good at pod racing.
Yeah, pretty much. The man who she finally does get him claims he's innocent. She doesn't care. She just wants to get paid. Little character note there. Rey hands the man into Unkar Plutt. He is the bounty hunter guild master of the city, kind of your Grief Karga from Mandalorian in this instance. He offers her a new job. It's incredibly risky. No one is taking it, but the reward is unimaginable. The job would be to investigate and provide credible evidence of the First Order's weapons operations and deliver the information to an unknown source on Takodana. That night, Rey considers the bounty. It could offer her a new life, freedom from this scum and villainy. She decides to go for it and sets off in her fighter.
That's cool. The unknown fucking like bounty like offering kind of thing.
I wonder who it is.
I wonder who it is, but no,
I wonder
that's,
who it is.
it's a really cool like plot premise, and to say like, oh Ray, like this like golden ticket opportunity is like kind of come to you. but you don't know exactly who is responsible, who's behind it.
Yeah.
I dig that.
So it's perhaps less inciting, but it's starting to see our plot lines converge. That is my inciting incident, the one that projects who will eventually be our hero character forward into this grand unknown, is the fact that Rey takes on this job.
Gotcha.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I guess my question, mainly because I'm sure like a lot of people's ears, a lot of listeners' ears probably spiked up hearing Rey, the jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, Mary of Sues.
Mary of Sues.
Jack of all trades more in the terms of like she would be bounty hunter. She might do a smuggling job.
Yeah.
You know. Oh yeah, I'll make that very clear. She's not great at everything. Jesus Christ, calm down. Not you guys. You guys out there in the audience.
Yeah.
No, it's like, you know, she does what she has to do
She
to
picks
get
up
by.
odd jobs and
Yeah.
seemingly is like quite good at them if Uncut Blood is like offering this kind of job.
Good
It's like,
enough.
"Here's
I
this
will
job."
say she's not the best. I don't know, maybe some more establishment in that. Like in terms of, say we have that bit where she's competing with the other bounty hunters.
Yeah, gotcha.
Bit more struggle there to be like, she's
Yeah.
not all powerful.
Yeah.
She won that one.
I think that's an easy way to introduce the conflict as well. It's like
Yeah.
if she's in a lineup of like, okay, here's like 10 of you who
Yeah,
get
yeah,
this
yeah.
job or have this opportunity, and you got to like fight each other for it.
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
And then
And
you can
there's-
have some fights from that.
And that there's definitely nothing special that Uncut Plutt would see in her.
Okay.
It's like, as he says, it's like no one's taking this job, but
Yeah.
this job exists. And obviously his job, and we know from how the bounty hunter guild masters work, is they get a commission. You know, they all get a split. There's always something in it for them. So back on their ship, Luke is training the Jedi. We get to see him training younglings, and we get to see him training Ben. Ben is distracted by the thoughts of the First Order having had this run-in with this Phasma person, visions of the potential future, and again, this weight on his shoulders. He and Luke have a disagreement, a bit of a blow up, and he just goes back to his quarters. He calls it a night. He has a dark vision of the future that night. He sees such things as Han Solo's death, Ben and Luke fighting, and a great laser destroying a city. He decides enough is enough. He wants to do something about this threat that he knows is out there, so he sneaks out, escaping in a fighter. Ben's dream, across the galaxy, was shared by Rey. She wakes up in a sweat and tries to suppress what she was experiencing. Her ship arrives above an outer rim planet. End of those beats there.
I'm still loving that shared dream thing.
Yeah.
I kind of omitted that from my
Every-
beat sheet, but the shared dream rules.
Every chance I get, I'm working that in there. Because that's, like, to me, the easiest way to establish the dyad.
Yeah, they connected subconsciously through dreams even before they even meet each other. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm so for the shared dream. But where I maybe fall off a tiny bit is using the dream specifically itself as like a narrative purpose to get Ben off the planet. Or
Yeah.
Ben to get Ben off the ship, like for him to leave.
Gotcha.
Perhaps
Like-
I've not established that well enough. I think he was like, from that first scene earlier on, he's kind of wanting to do something about this.
Yeah.
Anyway, the whole time. And this scene with he and Luke, I think, would just be a bit of oh, fuck you, man. I just want to, just,
Really harshing my vibe,
This-
Luke.
bad guy out there,
And we're not doing anything about it.
Yeah, literally.
seemingly.
Yeah. So Rey, she arrives above this outer rim planet in the capital city of this. It's just a decent sized population. Rey investigates the First Order. This planet is the head of their operations. So anyone who's like sort of leading this bit of dodgy life, whatever, they can come and go. It's on the outer rim. It's nothing too sus for you to be there. Say some sort of like New Republic thing would rock up. It's like, well, okay, people probably going to attack you, but Rey starts asking too many questions. I've set a bar, again, I think a similar parallel to what you've had of being like, okay, it's not a cantina. I'm not trying to do the cantina scene, but some sort of like, where do you go as a bounty hunter to meet local dodgy people and ask
Yeah.
questions?
I think it's fine if we do a cantina.
It's
They're
fun.
cool.
Yeah. No, we'll just put our own sort of spin on it. We'll make it more
Yeah.
like an Aussie pub.
It's Dex's bar,
Dex-
actually.
Well, hold on. So
Dex's-
so we've had a diner, we've had a cantina.
Dex's Diner.
We haven't had like a space McDonald's.
Space McDonald's, fast food.
Franchise.
Franchise.
Yeah.
Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
Done.
Globos.
Plutz.
Something I loved in Jedi Survivor was the saloon that they had as
Yeah.
like a main location you kept coming back to. That
Mm.
shit rules. Let's
That
do a
was fun.
saloon.
A saloon?
Star Wars saloon.
We could do an RSL.
Or a Star Wars RSL.
Star Wars Bowls Club.
Star Wars balls.
Do they have RSLs overseas? Or is
Oh,
that an
I
Australian
don't- that's
thing?
very
I feel like
Australian.
that's
So funny.
a strictly us
Go
thing.
Google that
It's
one.
the Return Services League.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. You'll
What
figure it
about
out.
I just like the idea of a franchise. It's so funny. Like if somebody
Oh.
franchises like fast food around the galaxy.
Here we go. Here's a different one for you. A beer house.
Oh.
Star Wars beer house, like a beer hall, like
Yeah.
German beer hall.
A whiskey bar.
whiskey bar.
All right.
Speakeasy.
We're running out of time, Mello. Let's get back to it.
Nah, we're fine. I'm almost there.
We'll be fine.
Anyway, Ray asks too many questions and starts to stir up a bit of trouble. And this is my one bit of force fate plot convenience.
Oh, yeah.
Ben's also there.
Ah.
Yeah, but he was doing things a bit more discreetly, I think. So he gets into a bit of trouble. She does. Sorry. He helps him out. She thanks him, but immediately tries to get rid of him. She doesn't need this guy. But having overheard her conversation about the First Order, he insists on helping. They find the base on this planet and sneak their way inside. And you'll think, oh, that must seem pretty easy, but you'll find out why later. Okay. The base is seemingly being emptied of all of its troopers, all of its contents, onto a unique battleship. Hacking into some computers whilst on the base, they discover a little more about the operation, how they've been stealing Kyber, funneling some resources in from some other Imperial remnants. It's not enough that Rey needs, but, she saves the information all the same. So the battleship departs. Having retrieved all she can, Rey's like, right, time to leave. Ben once more insists that he's going to go with her, and she's like, nah. She attempts to handcuff him to a railing, but having not yet revealed himself a Jedi, Ben uses the Force to grab his lightsaber hidden within his jacket, cuts himself free. Rey is stunned by the revelation that he is a Jedi, and perhaps a little afraid. He insists he is going with her to investigate the First Order. He's on a mission, so is she. But they're like, he insists, we are now stuck together. So they get back to Rey's ship. It's bigger. It's more well-equipped. Fucking who knows what happened to Ben's. And they pursue the battleship into space. Their ship's computer detects a massive energy charge building from the battleship. And suddenly it fires upon the city below, destroying it entirely in a centralized shot. Across the galaxy, Ben, Luke, Leia all feel an immense weight as the people of the city are killed instantaneously. And so does Rey. End of Act 1.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, your break into Act 1 is the firing of the laser
on their
unnamed city.
On their own city.
Right.
On the First Order's own.
Oh, so
city.
the First Order had kind of occupied that territory somewhere on the Outer Rim.
Yeah.
And then, discreetly during this kind of action scene, we're seeing hints of them evacuating, a mass evacuation.
They've been doing a load up. Yeah, from their
right.
base.
Interesting. So kind of cover the tracks in a way, blowing up the city behind them.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Right.
Very cool.
That's cool.
Any comments, Whipmaster?
I'm trying to think of questions. A lot happened there. A main one is how did they get to the base so quickly? How did they find out about the base? That feels like itself like a piece of information that doesn't just stumble upon. It seems like a beat.
I did a better job of hiding it, but I skipped that beat too.
Yeah, that beat as well.
I
think that I feel you did a very good job at hiding it.
I did.
So I thought that in
go back. Wait, I need to.
No, so they leave Maz Kanata's cantina, and she gives them a hint as to where Finn is.
Oh yeah,
and then they're just there.
So
that was my
when
beat.
you said a
So
hint,
it's very similar to Mello.
When you said a hint, that
Yeah.
was enough for me. That was somebody supplying information.
Yeah. Whereas with yours, Mello, I think the biggest thing there is that Rey goes to this bar looking for info. She's loud about it,
Yeah.
but then Ben's just there,
Yeah.
and then they find the info, and then they're at the base.
Yeah.
And that's bang, 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 bang. Obviously, we're still in beat sheet phase,
Yeah.
and we're still prototyping everything.
I'll offer up a solution.
This is the funny
in
stuff.
the moment solution for
Go
you,
for
though,
it.
which is perhaps getting a bit of
You
a
motherfucker.
bit of a look into both of their darker sides that they would have. Okay, so there's commotion in the bar. Whole bar breaks down to a brawl. They go out into the street. Maybe the one person who is low life scumbag loser who Rey was talking to, find him, corner him, be like, listen, fuckhead, you had the information we wanted. Where is it?
Yeah, go full.
And then he'll be like, take a left,
go full Bully Maguire on them in the alley.
Little
Just
bit,
pull them
yeah.
up to the
Maybe
base
I don't know.
shot, yeah.
It's an idea.
No, that's fun.
Yeah.
And then get the info.
And then it's okay, where's the base? And as for breaking onto the base, it's everyone's leaving.
Yeah.
Security is not of great importance. This thing's gonna get blown up in 10 minutes. No one cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only thing with yours, Mello, is it feels like we're getting a lot of Act 2. That already feels like we're well into what is called fun and games in the Save the Cat story, where it's setup, cool, done with setup. Let's go into the actual action, the thing you want to be doing.
The way I can see that when I was writing it, I was kind of writing it in Act 1 being 2 acts within itself.
Right.
It's a bit pre-Act 1, Act 1
Yeah,
stuff
right.
where before we had Rey going off and having her inciting incidents. Okay, we need this context, this backstory. Here's all of our old heroes and what they're doing right now.
Yeah. I just
And
feel
here's our driving narrative.
there's just a lot
now.
more space to just take a breath and do heaps more setup.
I'm sure there is.
I honestly, even with mine, I'm I need to add more setup in here. Just bridging 20 years of history, I think it's important to take a bunch of time and let the world kind of speak for itself and just sit in it for a bit, rather than rushing straight into the action. But
I agree in sitting in it, and I do think maybe there could be some more setup in yours, Mello. I'm hesitant to say too much on your side.
Yeah.
Right.
That probably erred on the other side of like maybe
Um,
cut back a bit.
No, maybe like if you were to do setup, like I feel like it'd be fine, but like I feel like it'd be like 1 or 2 more beats, like no more, or like or maybe like replace a beat with another beat, something like that.
Gotcha.
Something I really like that the both of you two have done is that you've set up that Rey has her own purpose for wanting to go on this journey, go on this quest. She's after it she's in it for the money, she's in it for herself.
Yeah.
And Ben's coming in it from this purpose of like, I want to like prove myself as a Jedi. I want to live up to this legacy.
Yeah.
I
Be a
want
hero.
to be a hero.
Yeah.
In like my sense of a hero. And like that's a really interesting way to progress and see how they evolve from that.
And bringing them in together and having them become together in the first act, I think, is really important.
I'd love that not to change at all.
Yeah, I think we can stick to that.
And something I did notice is we have no Finn at all.
Yeah,
Well,
I was about to point this out.
okay.
No Finn
The immediate next character we will be introduced to
is Finn.
Is Finn. Yeah.
Is he the contact on Takodana?
Nah.
So
No,
that-
he's still a First Order
Still First Order,
soldier.
okay.
Yeah, because I still want that.
Yeah.
His evolution and change.
So they run into him on the base. presumably?
Well, no. So where I've got it is like they're off the planet. That city's just been destroyed. In terms of like cover your tracks thing, and here's this big destroyer. And what's that on our radar under the ship?
Ah,
Yeah. So
interesting.
whether they have
Well,
to send people after them,
We'll
or
leave that for next week.
Yeah,
'cause
we
when
will.
do. Oh, maybe not next week or the week after. I don't know how we're going to
Yeah.
structure it out. But we're definitely going to cover Act 2 in the future and then Act 3 and the whole thing. But yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We'll
I'd
stay
love
focused
to
on the stuff
see
that we just covered now.
some more like Force Dyad stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I loved how you incorporated it. I feel like I love to see like how you smish that in.
Yeah, I'm going to maybe try and put some more in.
I
but
think
yeah.
it'd be cool. It'd be
I think
pretty cool.
I think there's definitely room for more. I would love to put more Dyad stuff in.
Yeah, or just stuff that like feels like it's foreshadowing it.
Yeah.
Or even foreshadowing Rey's aptitude and inherently being a Force child, something
Yeah.
like that.
Just a quick note, if you are listening to this, maybe for the first time or something, and you're like, oh, these are some interesting ideas, but what's like the overall shape of this? Clearly, we are very interested in telling the story of the Kyber lasers and how that is the key conflict and the key threat posed against the New Republic and all our heroes, which are, the New Republic is a form of like the heroic force at the start of the story. Whether that stays the same or it changes is definitely something we're going to explore. But the Jedi are our heroes as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, Luke, Ben, Han, Leia, Lando, Chewie, etc. And Rey, obviously, but Rey's coming into it from a different angle. That's kind of the shape of the story we've been trying to find for a long time now, and I definitely think it's coming along in a way that I really, really like. I love a lot of what you presented there, Mello. That was really great. Let's break down mine and then break down yours, and just talk about it in the general sense. So, I'm just trying to figure out like what the rest of the show looks like for today. I'm going to
Like how do we break it down?
I'm thinking
how
out
do
loud.
we come into where do you guys see us coming into next episode? Do you guys see yourselves individually like crafting, enhancing your individual scripts and then presenting them again? Or are we talking about like sort of collaborating on the next one?
That's a really good question, and no, that's a good point. Because Mello, you've come at it from like a radically different point of view, specifically with the ship, like the Jedi ship and the Jedi cruiser going around the galaxy.
Yes.
And like the locations are very different. The characters, like the way they're moving and going about the story and stuff, are very different. I think crucially, the choice that I made to have Han kidnapped at the start, and have Ben's drive as a character be, I'm going to be a hero by saving Han, is very different to what you've got there is I'm going to be a hero by killing Phasma or taking out Phasma.
Because that's his whole thing of like he completely misunderstands what it means to be a hero.
Yeah,
to me.
absolutely.
It's like and to go in, he just sees it as face value of okay, what did Luke do?
Yeah,
he went in and he blew up the Death Star. Cool, I can go in and kill the bad guy, and then I'll be the hero. Everyone will love me for it.
Yeah.
I've sidelined Han with the good old government bureaucracy. Han works for the New Republic. He's part of this strike force that Leia leads. Therefore, he cannot go intervene because they said no.
My question is, of our understanding of Han Solo, the roguish smuggler, would he care if he got sidelined?
Hence this strange evolution of the character of Han Solo, where we last picked up with him, rebel hero would then help father the New Republic. Fuck. Too caught up in this silly old bureaucracy.
So the reason I've sidelined, we've both sidelined Han. Yes. I think we need to.
Yeah.
I want to kill Han Solo at the end of
I
this
also
film.
want to kill Han Solo at the end of this film.
There's two things I want to do. I want to bring all of our OG characters back and have them meet in one place and have them have a reunion scene where it is beautiful.
There's your fan service.
It's not fan service. It's poignant, and I think it's important that we bring them back and have them have like some kind of reunion or moment before killing one of them. I think that's I would see it as a disservice to those characters if they never got to meet each other before they all died on screen 20 years after our original trilogy story.
The band has to get back together.
Which is what we got in the sequel trilogy, and I think that is heinous. I think that's a really, really, really bad choice.
Oh, well, it makes it just feel so sad.
It's so sad.
Like, it's so... and not
so
sad for the right reasons. It's just sad that you don't get to see these characters share a moment.
It should be devastatingly, heart-crushingly sad, but it's not. It's almost like a throwaway thing. When you see Leia and Rey at the end of Force Awakens, like, oh, I guess Han's dead.
It's cheap.
It's cheap.
It's cheap.
So I want to kill Han, but I want to make it not feel cheap. I really want to earn it.
Yep.
And I want Han to die sacrificing himself to save Ben.
Something I really like about Han getting kidnapped is... and that being the motivation for Ben going out and like pursuing
and making
that
mistakes
goal,
and being reckless.
is he still operating under the same mindset of like, I want to be a hero, I want to live up to the legacy, I want to prove myself. But where I think that would be interesting to arc, especially if we're doing a fall for Ben in this first movie, is him going too far, getting a bit too greedy, saving Han, but then still wanting to pursue Phasma, pursue evil, and get Killer in the end.
I'm going to tell you what my vision is for this with Ben's fall arc. I'm modeling it after The Godfather.
Okay.
So, and a really great analysis of fall arcs by Studio Binder, which is a fantastic fucking YouTube channel. So, what they've outlined a fall arc as is the hero has something that they want and something that they need, and in a fall arc, you get neither of those. So with Ben, his want is to save Han and be a hero. His need is to listen to Luke and become patient and compassionate. And at the end of this movie, I want him to fail at both. I want Han to die sacrificing himself for Ben, and I want him have that all to have come about because of Ben's impatience and his lack of ability to listen to the wisdom of Luke Skywalker. And then at the end, he runs away from everything. So he turns his back on like Luke and everyone, and he runs away because he's distraught at losing his dad. And he wants to kill Phasma and hunt her down. And I want Phasma to get away at the end of this movie as well.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of spoiling a lot of the Act 3 stuff.
I'm not saying he should kill Phasma. Yeah. I'm just saying like I think he'd be distracted, and then that's what causes Ben Han's death.
So here's my lightsaber fight as well. I want him to try and kill Phasma, and I want Luke to try and stop it.
I kind of love that idea.
Yeah. Luke trying to stop Ben from killing someone is something I've also heard.
Yeah. So that's kind of what a lot of Act 3 looks like for me, and where I'm heading towards all this.
I'm not sure if just that proposal in itself interests you at all, Mello, or because you have it straight from the go of I'm going to hunt Phasma.
Yeah.
As Ben's his leading.
Yeah, we can have that happen over a greater period of time. But that is still to me his key motivation.
The difference there for me,
hunt some other way. So.
Wanting to kill Phasma is an external motivator. Wanting to save his dad is an internal motivator. It's like a character that's attached to him as opposed to an external character that he is antagonistic towards. Whether that's better or worse is not what I'm debating. That's just why I've chosen Han. Because, you can have all sorts of characters motivated by all sorts of things in really compelling ways. It doesn't have to be internal or external. But that's the difference, I think, that I've found between hunting Phasma and saving Han.
Makes it very easy to side with someone who's so brash as well.
Yeah.
Is by having them have more than one reason to just go after something
or
that they
both,
want.
Yeah. I think, and then there's a point in Act 2 where
it just seems right. Oh yeah, you should go do that.
Yeah, I want Ben to find out what Phasma's plan is, which is to wipe out the Hosnian system and from the ashes build the Empire again. And then he's going to go, oh, I've got to save Han and kill her too. Brilliant. It is going to be both. But I think starting out with Han is where I'm at. But I've been talking a lot, Mello. You got any thoughts?
I don't know where to go from here in terms of do we
reflecting
just keep refining our own treatments, or do we have to start to combine?
I guess that's the question is what are we doing, you and me? Are we going to keep going on these diverging paths and see what we make of that?
Because that'll just be complicated.
The thing is, you and me, Mello, we hate each other.
Do we?
No, but
it's very hard to sit in a chair and watch these two talk to each other.
The second this show finishes, we just fucking
I have to to out because they live together, and I have to just pack up my shit and leave.
It's the ultimate creative fuel is hatred. But no, so what I'm ignore the joke is we're very different people when it comes to what we have in mind for writing and character arcs and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like there's no chance of us combining the stories that we have in our head. It's just going to be let's follow it to completion and really see the overall vision of each other's work, and then take it back and reflect. And then we're going to have to, at some point, either combine or choose one or the other.
I feel like it'll be not exactly a cherry pick, but also a figure out one as the base, and then cherry pick from the other one the ideas that we like to bring in.
Potentially.
Less
Something
of
like
a
that.
less of a combine, more of like a 70-30 kind of split.
Yeah, some kind of ongoing process.
Because like if you were to get a 50-50 split of your guys' things and put them together,
it'd be
would
like
not
watching
work.
the sequels
it'd be,
again.
It'd be fucking chaos. Like,
Yeah.
Let's consider compromises.
Well, the thing is, I just don't know, like, if there is things that like can be compromised on. So, for example, the Jedi ship, as
Yeah.
opposed to just having Arc 2.
Yeah.
So why does the Jedi ship work so well for you, I guess?
It's the nomad thing. That's what I've been pitching for a while now. Is that the Jedi are
The Jedi should be nomadic. They should be tied to one planet.
I think some of the issues I think I've brought up before is with Luke. You know,
Yeah.
and just
the
like
idea that he's not like peacekeeping.
that he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That he's just
I've definitely got... there's
Yeah.
another thing to talk about. I've got Lucas doing nothing.
yeah.
He's focused on being a teacher and a master, as
Yeah.
opposed to actively seeking justice in the galaxy.
I like the mindset of he's already focused on being a teacher, already focused on bringing up that next generation of Jedi and making sure that they're taught properly.
Yeah.
Which like even instills maybe like furthermore like why he's so harsh on Ben.
Yeah.
And like so like you have to do it this way.
Yeah. You know what's really interesting for me is the idea that, you've got this idea in your head of Luke still being a wise Grandmaster Jedi,
Yeah.
but actively doing something about any justice that he's doing about, whereas I've got he's not a hermit, he's not running away from anything,
Yeah.
he's just choosing not to use violence as his tool for change. I'm very curious as to what the audience thinks, because I feel like those are two very great visions of what Luke Skywalker could be.
Yeah,
I feel like
agree.
those are much better than the vision we got of the hermit Luke who's hiding from the world.
It's
from
the worst version.
Which
That
is
was
the
it,
worst version of Luke.
Yeah.
I think those are two versions that are both infinitely better than that version that we got.
I think both like feel true to like a wise Jedi Master as well as like what we know Luke Skywalker to be, and his personality and his caringness and
the compassion.
compassion.
The compassionate
Yeah.
Jedi.
Hmm.
So yeah, audience, if you want to like message us or like comment or anything, let us know which Luke Skywalker you're more interested in seeing. I think it would be really interesting just for us to know what are the opinions out there on people of like what Luke Skywalker do you want to see? And if I had to guess, I'd say they'd err on the side of your version of Luke, or like the active lightsaber wielding Luke
And,
Skywalker.
yeah, I mean, when I say lightsaber wielding, I mean like I've already settled also on the fact that it's like Luke is no longer a killer.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, stuff has happened in his past that he would be like go beyond that. He's evolved. And again, something that Ben would be like, oh, but like
There were thousands
When
on the
they're-
Death Star.
when they're bad, yeah, no, exactly. He's no longer a killer.
Exactly.
But Ben would want to be like, can I just kill the one?
Yeah.
This one really bad one? Can I
Just
kill
one
them?
shitty guy that no one likes.
Yeah. With no friends. Are you quoting Rick and Morty there?
I'm
yeah.
quoting
that's
Guardians 3.
Guardians
Oh,
3.
true. Yeah. Yeah, where else? So it's like Finn.
Okay.
I mean, Finn is obviously the next character going forward that we're both gonna introduce.
I'm not sold on this whole thing that I've pitched, which is he's an Imperial who believes in the Empire, but
Mm.
not in Phasma specifically.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a bit of a hard call. It's a
I
bit
fe-
of a stretch.
Yeah, I feel like if he's like programmed, if he's indoctrined into this like cult-esque war malicious, I don't know what to call it. Ideology. Yeah. Thank you for that. Saving
You're
me there.
welcome.
he has to be all in, you know.
Yeah.
And like that's something we've brought up on like him in Force Awakens. Like it's weird for him to be iffy.
Here's my pitch for why I'm doing that for Finn. When he sees... So Phasma has sent this big message out to the galaxy. I've killed the crime lord. I'm going for other people next.
Yeah.
Join me or die. That's kind of her MO. When Finn gets to the ship, and the next part of the story in Act 2, towards the end of Act 2, he's going to see a huge increase in First Order troopers that have joined from the other parts of the Imperial factions in the rest of the Outer Rim. And he's going to be, oh, people are cool with this. I thought people would not be cool with her destroying huge chunks of the galaxy. I thought the Empire meant more than that to people. I thought the Empire was about justice and stuff.
What are you giggling about?
He's like a hipster. He's like, I was into the First Order before it was cool.
Exactly.
Nice. Okay.
So that's kind of why that's going to be the start of him being disillusioned. And I want there to be a moment where Luke is like, no, dude, like it was
Yeah.
built on the Death Star. Palpatine is a conqueror and Thrawn was a conqueror. They're both conquerors and their legacy is destruction. This has always been the case.
And that's a lesson from Luke specifically, or is
I was thinking it would be just
Yeah.
because of plot, but because
Yeah.
he's going to be the one who's there. But anyway, that was my journey for Finn that I was interested, but definitely keen to hear some other ideas. Maybe Mello, what did you have in mind for
So
Finn later on?
from here, my characters will be like, okay, so as I've said, like it's just them. And they're like, oh, look, a ship. Get that ship. They're outside of the tractor beam range, but they can still send out fighters. There'd be a bit of a dogfight in which we get to see fantastic piloting skills of Ben. These two characters who are kind of still, again, stuck together, work well together, as it turns out. and they're able to jump to what is the nearest system. So then I, as Phasma, would send out troops to here, there, one of which will be Finn eventually.
Right.
We'll have that bit where those three characters then have to survive. That keeps coming back in all of my stories, and the main driving thing of Act 2, where it's like it's Finn, Ben, Rey having, stuck
on a planet having
stuck
I like
together,
the
yeah.
trio, I like the campfire scene.
Yeah, all those.
Although
the
it
kumbaya, singing kumbayas.
it's
I've
falling
scrapped
off for me ever so slightly in the past, like in the past few like sessions we've had chatting, just because of like the idea of having them together, especially Finn and his ideology and Ben and his ideology, especially when we want Ben to fall, seems harder to do.
I'm
Finn's in
struggling
the room.
to find a place to fit it, and with my vision for my new version of the story, it's feeling a lot more like A New Hope, as opposed to that version, which is a lot more like Return of the Jedi, where they are having like a chance to breathe and go on weird adventures and do wacky stuff.
Yeah.
You're on Endor, you're on Tatooine. Whereas there's so much going on that I'm just like finding myself like, I can't have this whole section of the story where basically there are three main characters doing nothing for an extended period of time. As much as I love it, I think it's like such a fun idea. Something that we've played with heaps in our older versions and stuff. But so that's where they go next for you.
Yeah, it's more character driven, that portion, and it's from what they learn of each other out of that section is what will help them then go into our third act and the decisions they make. I also don't have Ben like going solo, running a Han Solo, going like running away at the end of the film to go be on his own. I've got him basically being poised to be the he will become the hero that he wanted to be. It just so happens that hero is still not a good person. He will still have his fall to the dark side, and he will more align with the New Republic, whilst our heroes go separately.
Oh, so he stays with Hux.
He stays with Hux.
And Hux
like
is
they're going to fight the good fight against the First Order.
And Hux is championing this whole like building the lasers and stuff.
He eventually will, And there will be later. Are we keeping that later revelations of? I'll tell you this much right now. Spoiler alert: that mine in that independent planet, is commissioned by Hux.
Nice, yeah.
That Kyber mine.
So Hux is like for you, just like a total piece of shit from the get go.
Yeah. I've changed him a bit. He's our charismatic Senator Hux.
It's so fun going, like, we've gone back and forth a million times on Hux. And, like, is he straight up evil and doing the wrong thing from the start? Or is he a good person who becomes misguided?
Yeah. Well, to, like, answer the whole, villains think of themselves as heroes, in this instance, it's like, oh, fuck. Kyber crystals are outlawed at the moment. But if I can orchestrate a little something, that means I can, get Kyber
if I can
weapons.
bend the rules.
Yeah, if I can get Kyber weapons
for the greater good.
Legalized to help blow up those enemies out there, then I'll be a hero.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's definitely like bending the rules. It's just, I've definitely got in my mind. In this version, Hux for me is like just a lot more of like a good guy who was not around. He wasn't alive yet to see the firing of the Death Star weapon on Alderaan. And then he's up against Leia, who I just keep coming back to this thing. Like, no one hates Kyber lasers more than Leia. No one in the galaxy hates them more than Leia.
Yeah.
Except any other Alderanians who weren't there.
Yeah. What about like?
Alderanians.
What about the guys? So whenever they fire the Death Star, you cut to there's always that like, it's that tunnel shot of there's two people at a control panel.
Yeah.
The radiation poisoning. It's like they're working on Chernobyl. Like,
oh man.
No, they're fine.
Yeah. Okay. Really?
Yeah, it's radiation free.
Oh, true. Oh, is it? What's so bad about the Death Star if it's radiation free? What are people whinging about?
Yeah, what are we whinging about?
Wait, it's solar powered? Oh no.
Shit.
This thing kind of might be cool.
But I think that's going to be everything for today.
I think
we've covered a bunch of the stuff, and I hope now by the end of the show you're kind of seeing that. I hope you, the audience listening, can see in your mind the vision of where we're trying to go with the story and this whole Kyber battle and battling Phasma and taking her down and that kind of stuff, and then seeing Ben fall in some kind of way. I think we've nailed on the idea that Ben is going to fall in some way.
Let's just push him over.
Yeah.
Physically. There's his fall.
We knock him over.
Chuck him down a cliff.
Knock him off balance like one of those Boston Dynamics robots.
It also seems like for those people who wanted Han Solo to live in the first movie, unfortunately.
I'm sorry, it's still we're holding true to Harrison Ford's contract. We respect
wanted to die.
He wanted to die.
Yeah. And he also wanted Han Solo to die. Both,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think at this point, Harrison Ford wants to die. He doesn't look comfortable anymore. He's grumpy all the time.
No, that's just his persona. I think he's he seems like he'd be like a legitimately nice guy.
Yeah, probably.
Just like off camera, you know.
I feel like he is an act that he does in the public, and it's we love him for it.
It's perfect.
It's like how Liam Gallagher's just an asshole. He's just a constant asshole, and no one likes him because he's like a little twerp. But you go and watch him anyway.
Who?
He's a singer. He's
The guy from Oasis.
Oh, right. Okay.
Anyway. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Fixing the Sequel Trilogy, our very first part 1 of Fixing the Force Awakens. Part 1 of 6, 7, depending on how long we go, depending on how much time we need to get a good beat sheet, to get a good story. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the good stuff, which does not include Twitter. And until next time, may the Force be with you.